Hi, my name's Dr. Amanda Foo-Ryland, and I want to spend a little bit of time sharing a mind hack that I used in my life that really helped me to navigate when a curveball hits. When a curveball hits, life generally is just trucking along like normal, and all of a sudden something blindsides us. And for me, that's exactly like my life had been. It had been normal, as in, just the usual thing of losing people that we love, but in a chronological manner. I was married and divorced, but that happens to lots of people. And so life was good, and I'd written a couple of books, and my career was going really well. And then a big curveball hit. And what had happened was I'd run from Land's End to cycled from Land's End to John O'Groats, but also climbed the National Three Peaks. So that's the whole length of the United Kingdom, and climbed the National Three Peaks as well. And that was a fabulous challenge that I did with two other friends. We raised a lot of money for charity, which was just fabulous. And then I returned back to New Zealand, where I spent half of the year every year, just for a routine a health checkup. But it transpired that there was a tumour the size of a golf ball in my left kidney, and the kidney needed to come out immediately. Now, what I decided to do was to treat that as an adventure. Not one I'd chosen to go on, but I was on it anyway, so I may as well look at it through adventurer's eyes. And that's exactly what I chose to do. In fact, on the morning of surgery, bearing in mind I'd never been in hospital, I'd never had surgery before, so this was brand new. When the anaesthetist came to see me and offered to give me a little concoction to relax me, I was like, oh no, I'd love to come down and see the operating theatre and meet the crew, because I was looking at it through adventurer's eyes. What was wonderful was she kind of thought it was a bit weird, but she agreed that if that's what I wanted to do, I was the patient and she was going to allow me to do that. What I also learned from that was they were going to listen to Freddie Mercury all the way through surgery, which was quite a lengthy surgery. What's not to love about that? And I got to meet all the team. It had a much more personal touch, and I definitely found that way of approaching it, in terms of I'm an adventurer as opposed to I'm a victim of cancer, I'm a cancer patient, I'm a cancer sufferer, was far more helpful. So my first neural coding tip is, whatever the curveball is and suggests it might be, how can you approach it differently? How can you look at it differently? Now, if somebody had tapped me on my shoulder when I was in hospital in Christchurch, New Zealand, on the 14th of November 2014, and said to me, Amanda, a year tomorrow, your husband of 19 years will die of the same disease, I'd have said, angel from the future, you've got the wrong person. I'm the one that's had to have an organ removed, not him. And yet, a year and a day later, I lost my beautiful husband, Keith. And it was another huge curveball. Now, that time, I didn't get my neural coding toolkit out straight away. What I did was I needed to grieve, I needed to cocoon myself in my grey bubble, which means that we make ourselves small, we stop doing things that we love, we're just not functioning, we're not firing on all cylinders. And I knew that was a process I needed to go through, but equally I also knew that the longer I stayed in the grey bubble, the thicker those walls would get, and the harder it would be to get out. So I decided to allow myself the knowledge of knowing that I was in the grey bubble, that I was licking my wounds, feeling sorry for myself, grieving, receiving lots of help from people. And then it was time to make a decision. And I literally broke out of my grey bubble and I started doing something that I love, and that's running again. I was running around a beautiful lake in Queenstown, New Zealand, called Lake Hayes, with a gorgeous friend of mine. And she stopped right in front of me and she said, Amanda, it's really weird. I see your life like this massive canvas. And half of the canvas is full of colour, and it's rich, and it's beautiful oils, and it's all the experience of life from birth to when you lost Keith. And the other half is completely blank, and you get to put whatever you want on that. And if anyone can do it, you can. So I got designing. I designed that I wanted to fall in love with somebody. Now, somebody that's been married to two men, and prior to that was with a hot fireman for 10 years, married for the first time for 5 years, divorced. and then married to beautiful Keith, I lost after 19 years of being together. You would think that I would choose a man, naturally, because I'm not gay. I'm labelled as heterosexual, and yet I fell in love with a woman. And so this is when I got a second massive learning, in that I decided at that point to not have any labels in my life. I'm not gay, I'm not straight, I'm not bisexual, I'm not heterosexual. I'm Amanda. I'm me. And even though I've been in 3 long-term relationships with men, that doesn't mean I'm heterosexual. It means I'm Amanda. I'm me. And now that I'm with a woman, people often say to me, are you gay? And I go, no, I'm not gay. I'm Amanda. I'm me. So labels help to define us for sure. And absolutely, when I had a tumour with cancer inside it, it was helpful to be labelled by the medical profession as a cancer victim, a cancer patient. That was helpful. So I learned to accept the labels that work and not accept the labels that are put on me. That was my second learning. Oh, and you might be curious, Sarah and I are now married 10 years, and we have 2 beautiful 5-year-old twin boys, Noah and Jasper. We live in Portugal, and life is good. The final tool I would like to share with you, which I promise you will use before you lay your head on your pillow this evening, even if you're watching this probably an hour before you go to bed. I was in that hospital in Christchurch, and I was recuperating from the operation, and a lady came to visit me. I didn't know her particularly well. I played golf with her a few times. I would call her an acquaintance, and it was really kind of her to come and spend some time with me. So we sat and we chatted, and she bought me a really nice bottle of Pinot Noir. She also bought me a bag of fudge, which was really cute. And as we were chatting away, she kind of stalled, and it was almost like she'd run out of things to say. And then she remembered that she'd watched this documentary about this woman that had given her kidney to somebody that really needed it. She'd donated her kidney. So I was listening with curious eyes as to what that meant. What did this mean for this lady? She healed really well from the surgery, and then she went out and lived a life. But what the lady shared with me was 6 months later, the lady slid into a deep depression. Because what the research said is that when the body loses an organ, then the body knows that, and therefore the body can start to become depressed. And I'm laying there thinking in my hospital bed, at what level is this supposed to be serving me? And so what I did was I imagined a big red button right in front of my eyes, like I almost couldn't see anything around the edge. And across the middle it said delete in white letters. And I actively, consciously chose to delete that mind virus that was being given to me unknowingly. I did not want to accept that mind virus at all. I could not risk that taking space on my neurology, in my neurology, becoming something that I owned. And this is what I did inside my head. I did this. Delete, delete, delete. I actively and consciously deleted the mind virus that was being imparted. And so I call it the delete button. Now, you can have whatever you want across your delete button. Mine said delete in white capitals. You can have any other thing you want on there, and I'll let you decide. And how you use it is when somebody's telling you something that doesn't serve you, and yet you don't want to climb into it. It's not really open for discussion. It's not about putting your point of view. It's not about even influencing the person or even educating them from your perspective. You just don't want to discuss it. The delete button is really, really helpful. The other option is to nod and agree, but at some level that has installed itself on your or within your neurology. So your delete button is something that you just imagine. You delete the mind virus that's been imparted to you, and it's very important you do it inside your head and then you don't tell the person. So those are my learnings through my curveballs over the last 11 years. I hope they've been of some use to you. I promise you will use the delete button before you go to bed tonight. And always remember this. I love to let everybody know this. It's your life. Live it.